All right, guys. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered the second way, and thank you for joining me for this video recording to talk about another way to do Facebook ads, which is a little bit different than using audience insights, which we covered in video 1. If you have not yet watched video 1, I do encourage you to go back and take a look at that, as it includes a lot of good information, another way to save audiences for future reference, and just kind of a mix-up from what a lot of people use. Usually some people use one or the other. I recommend both, and just getting very acquainted with both of them. So as you can see here, obviously I'm in the process of creating a new ad, which is how you go get started with this method. So I created a campaign. I'm not here to walk you through how to create a campaign. I'm just here to tell you about a little bit more about placements. So my marketing objective is obviously to sell. I go for conversions. I know some people like to go for engagement first. I do not. That formulates your pixel incorrectly. Formulates your pixel towards engagement. We're not looking for engagement. I don't care if 500 people like my story. I don't care if 500 million people like what I'm pushing out there. If they're not buying it, it's useless to me. So I'm going to conversions. Yes, I'm sure. Let's name it conversion test. Obviously for my test account, I don't have a pixel. This is something you would want to make sure you had regardless. So please make sure you have a pixel set up and it is on your store, specifically if you're using Shopify. Ad set name is ad set test. So audience. So one way to do audience is right here under audience. Now, of course, you can use a saved audience if you want to, but in this case, we're going to use a new audience, and we're going to keep the subject pretty much the same, or the niche to what it is that we targeted in video 1, which is pit bulls, or people that have or love pit bulls, and we want to sell them pit bull related items of some sort. So since we don't have a custom audience just yet, we're going to go ahead and make a new one. So we're going to look at locations. As stated in video 1, I am going to focus on United States. The reason for that is it's easier to use ePacket for, a little bit more consistent. Also, some of the best sales are had from those that target United States, which is one of the biggest countries to target for stores like Shopify. My other recommends, if you were going to do something like this, would be Canada as well as UK. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying my way is the only way. There are people that sell things to random miscellaneous countries in Asia, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Australia, right? It's all over the place, and there is a wide variety. This is just what I recommend for this example, just to keep things very simple. So we're going to target United States. Ad age range, I am going to leave the same right here. Again, I do typically move this up to 20. While there are plenty of people that make money, like a lot of you that are watching this video, hopefully, that are 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Unfortunately, there's not enough of those types of individuals that are hustlers and just trying to kill it at that young age. And so that really just doesn't impact our audience the way we want it to. So I do typically move this from 20 to 55, but of course you can leave it at the regular. This is just something that I recommend for most ads to cut down on that audience. So obviously we need to target, right? If we look over here, our potential reach is 169 million people. That is far above my 2 to 14 million, 4 to 8 million recommended average. So we want to narrow this down a little bit. So I'm going to leave the gender all the same. I'm going to leave the language the same, because it's, while there are a wide diversification of languages in the United States, most common is obviously English. So I'm going to leave that alone. And then I'm going to get into detailed targeting. So one very, very common mistake with a Facebook update that was done actually a few months ago, but still people run into it, especially if you're new to Facebook ads, is unchecking this box right down here. It says expand interest when it may increase conversions at a lower cost per conversion. Now, that might sound like a really good thing. So far, from everyone that I've interacted with, both on the newer level as well as on the professional level, including on my level, this has not been very helpful. I would not be surprised if in future renditions of Facebook ads, if they removed it, or if they've improved it in some sort of way. In this case, though, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. The reason being is that will drastically change your audience, and unfortunately, you're not going to get that targeting that you want to right away. So I'm going to uncheck that. Now, my audience hasn't changed here, but as I go through a little bit more detailed targeting, you're going to notice it does change. All right, guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come up with detailed targeting. So what I'm going to do, like we did in video 1, is stay super broad and then tighten it up from there. So demographic interest, etc., we're going to go with dogs. Boom. Pretty big audience, 47 million people. We can also look at something else. Let's see. We can type in dogs again, see what shows up. Snoop Dogg is not what we're looking for. We could do dog breed. Saw another one. I think it was dog lovers. I'm going to hope that means people that love dogs, not in an inappropriate way. And from here, going to click on suggestions. You can always click on suggestions, see if there's anything else that you want to include. I don't include going crazy here, or don't encourage, going crazy here. I would encourage you to keep it to a couple interests. Now what we want to do is we really want to start narrowing down. Now you have two options. You can either exclude certain people, and you can exclude them by certain pages. Like if you want to target people that don't already like your page, that don't like certain pages, you can definitely do that. Another option is narrow audience. So one of the things I love doing with these is narrowing the audience. So as you can see on the top, include people who match at least one of the following. What it has down here, you must also match at least one of the following of these, right? So now that I have the broad spectrum of customers or potential customers up there, I want to narrow down a little bit more down here as it says. So I'm going to start typing in pit bulls or pit bull. Let's see what that comes up with. Good. About 25 million. I'm going to do pit bull again. Oops. Pit bull. That's a little too small. Pit bull. There we go. Pit bulls. I think American Pit Bull Terrier would be okay in this example. And we're going to continue down this route. Scroll down a little bit so I can see. Pit bull. All right, so it looks like we're starting to come at the end a little bit. Suggestions, pit bull lovers, that would be a fine. I love pit bulls. I think that would be good. See, here you can kind of narrow down just a little bit more. So this is still a pretty big audience right up here. So what I would suggest doing is maybe playing with the top if you still are pretty large. And again, this does fall within my recommend, but it's a little bit larger. My recommend is 2, again, to 14 million. I really want to hit that sweet spot between 4 to 8 million. If you didn't watch video 1, you will, on here, just a note, some people do like targeting and hyper targeting. So they'll go for 200 to 800,000. I don't think that's enough. I don't think you're going to get the exposure and the right people that you want. Some other people go for 100 million and that works well. I think that works really well when it comes to Instagram ads, but as far as Facebook ads go, I haven't had much success. Again, there's a million different ways to do it, so I'm not saying it doesn't work, just showing you what works for me. So I'm going to go ahead and just take one of these out and see how it does. So if I take out dog lovers, what impact does that have? So that's still pretty high. If I take out dog breed, still pretty high. So obviously this is dog owners. Dog breed. Okay, let's take out dogs and see what happens there. Actually, I think that would be an okay audience. It's still a little broad, and we can narrow down by there, like I mentioned, by going through. And this isn't a simple process, right? This is not a, I'm going to type some stuff in, it's going to be done. I can tell you, for those that are really good at Facebook ads, and for those of you that are good at Facebook ads watching this video, you probably have experienced this. It's not a simple task of 5 to 10 minutes. It's something that could take up to half an hour, maybe an hour. As you're going through, you're researching different groups, going through Google, looking at different bloggers, etc., of different targeted interests you want to have. And these things could take a while to get done properly. In this case, I don't want to keep this video to an hour long and lose your interest. So I do want to keep it kind of short. But again, this is pretty close to what I'm looking for here. I can probably take out dog breed. There you go. I took out dog breed. I have dog lovers, dog owners, but they also must meet one of the following: American Pit Bulls, I love pit bulls, right? And if you're liking one of these pages, and you can always go and search these pages in a different tab, but if you're liking one of these pages, it's very, very likely that somebody that likes these pages owns a pit bull, or they know somebody that owns a pit bull, or they just really like pit bulls, right? And especially for pit bulls being one of those dogs that unfortunately gets a bad rap because there are owners who mistreat them out there in the world, but not getting too political into it. If someone's liking a pit bull page, it's likely because they really do like pit bulls or they have one. And so being able to put that stuff in there and being able to target this group, especially with the audience we have now at 7.5 million, is perfect. And I'm not saying this audience targeting is perfect, right? I would normally check out Google, I would check out bloggers, see what kind of demographics I could play with and try to get that number. The number target is fine, but see maybe if there's any better suggestions for targeting on there. But I would be okay as this stands right now and as you see this, launching an ad on this. Now, I know a lot of you are going to go, okay, perfect. If you haven't started yet, you're going to launch a pit bull store or a pit bull item. And I say that because I was new once as well. And when my mentor showed me how to do Facebook targeting, I was like, perfect, I'm just going to steal your stuff, right? And he was like, no, don't do it. You can, but keep in mind it takes into other stuff, right? And as I spent more time with him, he taught me about the psychology of button colors and the psychology of ad copy and the way different photos work and videos and all those different things that go into it, right? It's not just the targeting. This is a huge part of it, right? You want to make sure you're targeting the right people. You don't want to target strollers to people that don't have kids. But at the same time, you don't want to target, you don't want to target strollers that are purple to people with kids that really, really hate and absolutely are disgusted by the color purple, right? So there's other factors that can go into it. You also wouldn't put in the stroller the ad copy that says this is the unsafest stroller in the world. That doesn't make sense. And I know it's kind of an exaggeration, but it just goes to show you there's other things that go into the marketing. And there's a lot of videos. And if you're in the XCOM group, you probably know who Josh is. And Josh has a lot of different videos on psychology. And I would encourage you to look those up on YouTube. Obviously, it's just a YouTube video. I don't get credit if you go and look at those videos, but it is something I would highly suggest that you look at. But this is a way I do Facebook ads. This is probably one of the alternative, my most preferred way recently. But if you watched video 1, and again, if you haven't, I encourage you to go back because it will show you just how important it is to be able to have that to save audiences. And you can look at different pages and whatnot and see what the total estimated number of potential reach is. Just to go back on my earlier point where I excluded expand interest, if we click on that, you'll see the end, boom, our audience reach turns into 169 million people. It's just not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that and get rid of that. And then again, the rest, just to go over it real quickly, I don't do automatic placements. There are different people that do different placements. If I'm targeting for Facebook, I target for Facebook. I do have ads on Instagram, don't get me wrong, but I target those specifically for Instagram. So I'll take off Instagram, I take off Audience Network, and Messenger usually is Messenger by itself. I do like Messenger messages and ads. There are special ways to do them. In this case, I'm not going to. I'm going to leave Facebook. And I always take off right column because I don't want my information in a small little right column, hoping to God they're looking at it on a PC. I want it right there where it is. Instant articles, I also take off. I am not too great with those, admittedly. And although I'd like to be better, I haven't seen a lot of success. And a lot of people that I look up to are not fantastic at those as well. Because I did that, you can see that my audience went down. So maybe it is a good idea that I add back in dogs. Boom. Now you can see my audience is exactly where I want it to be again. See, it all worked out. So now I have the perfect audience that I want. For those of you that cut off on the video, or if someone cut off on the video a little bit earlier and didn't see the changes I made, they're going to be hurting. So hopefully everyone watched the whole video. But I got the audience I want. I got the placements I want. Obviously, I'll set up the budget and schedule that I want, whether it's 5 or whatever the case is. I am optimizing my ad for conversions, which is perfect. I usually change my clicks. I want 1 day after click. My bid amount is automatic. I am loving manual bidding, but not a call or not a topic for today. And as I moved on, obviously I would finish the rest of the things that have to do with the ad, including making sure I have the right pixel event occurring and whatnot. So I know I went with a fairly broad example here, but there's a lot of people, again, that go with dogs. And hopefully this gives you an idea of why it's so important to have a really good niche on topic as opposed to just sunglasses, right? So you can target for sunglasses, but think about it. As you go through and you start targeting this, how are you going to get a good audience of people that are looking for sunglasses? What are you going to target besides just sunglasses, Ray-Ban, different Ray-Ban, brands? What audience would you narrow down or exclude? And that becomes harder to think about the bigger your item is, right? And if you're just doing sunglasses, which is why it's important. Wooden sunglasses, again, could be an example of sunglasses I'm targeting, and then start targeting groups or other products or companies that have things that are made out of wood, right? And that could be your exclusion. Same with dogs, right? You don't see me just targeting dogs. If I did, I'd be hitting 170 million people and just burning my money, literally burning money almost. And in this case, I'm doing pit bulls or Siberian Huskies or whatever the dog is. And so I'm much easier or much more able to narrow down on the audience that I am looking for. So really important, even if you have a general store, right? You're not trying to just sell everything on that general store. You have items that are just there for fill. You have items that are there to sell, and you have items that are there to upsell. And even if I am trying to sell a item on that store, I am not just trying to target all the items on that store. You're trying to target that one specific item, even if you have a variety. And the pixel will get used to it, despite what anyone says. It'll take longer to mature and understand what your store is about, but it will still occur. So if anyone tells you a general store, your pixel will never mature, your pixel will never know what you're doing, they don't know what they're talking about. It will, and I'm a proven case of that. So guys, hopefully this gave you an insight. Again, I do encourage you to watch video 1, and hopefully this helped you. Again, I do encourage you to watch it, share it, comment, put any questions you have below, anything maybe that you learned below as well. And if you have something that worked really well for you, or something that maybe you think I missed, please feel free to put that on there too. Like I said, there are a million people that might disagree with me. There's a million people that agree with me. And this is what made me a huge killing when it came to Shopify. This is kind of the way that I was taught, with a little adaptation to it. And it's worked very well so far. So hope you guys have a great night. Hope you guys kill it this weekend as we move closer to Q4 and holiday. And I will be talking to you all soon.